Hey everyone, and welcome to Easy Bath and Beyond, where we talk about bathroom remodeling and entrepreneurship in Houston, Texas. Today, I am joined by Cherie with Fully Promoted, which is a branding company based in Houston. Cherie, first thing first, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to do this. And just want you to let us know, how long have you been in Houston for?
I've been in Houston. Goodness, I believe it's close to 16 years now. We moved from Maryland around 2006 to Houston.
That's it. Really? What part of Maryland were you from?
Yeah, we live right outside of DC in Bowie, Maryland. I didn't live there long. I didn't live there long. I actually, so I was originally born in Mississippi, a little small town, Philadelphia, Mississippi, where my mom is from. And then my parents moved to Louisville, Kentucky, I guess in probably the early 70s, once they got out of college, and they were recruiting educators, they were recruiting teachers, all over the Midwest, African American teachers. So my father took a job in Louisville, Kentucky, and so that's where I was raised. And went to school, went to University of Kentucky before I started moving around. After I got my degree, joined corporate America. I've lived in New Jersey for a while, then moved to Maryland for a while, and it's actually my second time living in Houston. I lived here for about a year, around 1997, 1998, when I got out of college, and so I stayed here a year. Then the company moved me to New Jersey, and then I moved around a bit and found myself back here in 2006.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually, I'm not too familiar with Kentucky, but I'm very familiar with Maryland. That's where I moved here from. I moved here from Frederick, Maryland, in 2010 or 2012. Sorry. So I'm very familiar with that area. New Jersey. I grew up in Staten Island, New York. So I have a lot of family that lives out in New Jersey. So very very familiar with all of that. It's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, I do love the Northeast. I love the Northeast. It's got a good appeal.
yeah. Do you miss fall? I miss fall.
I miss fall, but not winter.
That's true. I
I
do not miss winter.
I do not miss winter at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I feel like we only have like two seasons here. We have summer and winter in Houston, and that's basically about it.
I
But
agree. I always say, it's, you can get 30, it'll be 30 degrees for a few times for a couple of weeks, and then it will be warm again. So
yeah. So, what brought you back to Houston? Was it the opportunities here, or what brought you back here originally?
sure, absolutely. So my undergraduate degree is in chemical engineering. That's what I got my undergraduate degree at the University of Kentucky. When I graduated, I've been working as an intern for several years for a company called Union Carbide, and as a chemical engineer, they were at the time headquartered in Charleston, West Virginia, which is maybe I don't know, probably max 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Lexington, Kentucky, and so they recruited there. And so when I graduated, I joined Union Carbide. Again, they moved me here for a year, and then they moved me to New Jersey. They merged with Dow Chemical, and so I worked in New Jersey for about 5 or 6 years. And then when I got married, I moved to Maryland. I was only in Maryland probably a year or two. And that's when I took another position with Dow Chemical, and they moved me back here to Houston. And so that's how I made my way back from Maryland back to Houston,
Oh, cool.
working in corporate America, moving around. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I get it. I mean, this is a prime area for that kind of stuff too. And
Yes, absolutely.
and that's, I mean, one thing about Houston too that I'm sure, I mean, you would agree with is that we never we're built now, we're infrastructure now to where like we'll never really have a bad economy. We'll have our struggles, but it's not going to be like back it was. I heard in the '80s we had a really bad crash here in Houston because the oil companies were doing really poorly. But I think we're
Hmm.
pretty diverse now, where we can survive even like an oil crash or kind of the city itself has diversified itself to where the economy is probably pretty steady for the most part.
Yeah, I always tell people that it's easy to live in Houston. I think Houston is, it's very business friendly. It's very small business friendly. I do have a lot of customers that are in the oil field services, but there's a lot of customers who are not. So I would agree that because it's easy to do business in Houston, it's easy to live in Texas. The economy is strong, and it's a lot of land. It's a lot. The economy is good, so I would agree. I think that as a small business owner, I see a lot of diversity and opportunity here in Texas and in Houston specifically.
Yeah. And what got you into like embroidery and promoting for small businesses? Or what got you to get into that field, being a
Yeah,
chemical engineer?
right. So it wasn't that a lot of people will start out, oh, I had a small embroidery machine and I was doing it in, downstairs in my showroom, or I was screen printing in my garage. That wasn't my story. So when I left corporate America in, I guess, goodness, I don't know, maybe around 2012. So maybe 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. I knew I wanted to run a business, and I didn't want to go back into corporate America. I had two young children at the time. And so this was a business that I thought I could run, and it's pretty straightforward. I did not, and so I went to some opportunity fairs, franchise fairs, and so I just wanted to. This was a business that I felt like I can run. There's a need out there for that, and that's why I chose this one.
That's
I
all.
didn't screen print in the garage or anything like that.
No, that's cool. I'm always interested to hear this too, because especially that you went to a fair, like a franchise fair, because I don't think a lot of people know what that even is or that they exist. But I've seen a couple of them being promoted. Uh, Funny thing about us is like we are like I'm actually building this company to be franchisable. That's my goal
Mm-hmm.
anyway. At the end of the day, is
Wow.
my goal.
Mm-hmm.
So we are so that's what we're striving for, and one of the things that you look to is like, okay, well, how do we promote that it's a franchise, and that's how I found out about the franchise fairs. So if you want to like, so I never been to one though. So like, what happens? You go to one, and is it kind of like going to like any other kind of show where people are kind of like pulling you in, hey, come in and learn about my business. Let me see if we can connect, and what's the how's that actually work when you go to those places?
It is. Yeah, no, it is. It's like just like any other trade show that you would if you've been to a trade show, many of us have. Any other trade show where or opportunity fair. Sometimes I hear them called opportunity fairs.
Hmm.
And so they may have other business opportunities that are not quite franchises. So either a franchise or business opportunity fair, and generally enter some type of hall where there are businesses like yourself that would be interested in franchising, and you just completely prepared to tell people about your business. Obviously people are interested in what it costs to invest in certain businesses, what the kind of support, the kind of back end support that they will have. But it's just like any other trade show, right? You're showcasing your business, why it might be a fit, why it may not be a fit for people at the opportunity fair. Generally, there'll also be some educational type classes there that will help you try to make sure that you're picking the right type of franchise. There'll also be some, maybe some opportunities for people that with financing opportunities, and some business services that might go along with helping you along as you choose a franchise. So those are the type of things that you would find at those type of franchise or business opportunity fairs.
And once you decide the franchise that you want to go with, and obviously you went with fully promoted, like what's the process from there? Like what's the process from, okay, I want to go with this franchise. How do I attain that, or what am I, and what am I expecting in return that the franchise is going to give to me in order for me to have my success? Like how does that work?
Right. So usually after you kind of hone in on what might be interesting to you,
Hmm.
a lot of many times when people go into it, I mean, there's some criteria that you got to be looking for. One is the initial investment. I'll say so. Some franchises you might be able to the initial investment with the franchise fee might be as little as $20,000 or $30,000, depending on if you need a lot of equipment, a lot of staff, if you need an actual physical location for people to come into, if you need just kind of depending on if you need a build out to a building, those all have a bearing on how much getting into a business opportunity or franchise is going to cost. So you can, a couple $1,000 to somewhere in the millions of dollars, particularly when you're talking about maybe a fast food franchise or a kid jumpy place with video games and things like that. You're going to need a lot of space, a lot of equipment, and a lot of staff. And so the amount that you have to invest is going to help you decide on what franchise direction you might want to go to. And there's some other criteria. I mean, if you really not interested in working nights and weekends and holidays and evenings, you may not want to go into a food franchise. Typically, food places are open all the time. That's quite a bit of work. So I think you gotta try to understand what you want out of getting into a business opportunity, getting to a franchise. And then from there, you express interest to the franchisor. And so once you express interest to a franchisor, I think the first step generally, after maybe an initial phone call, they will, there's some disclosure paperwork that you will sign, and they'll give you some additional detail about the franchise, maybe the earning opportunity, the number of franchises they currently have, how many franchises they have lost. So you'll get some additional detail after you sign, some paperwork, so they can disclose some additional information to you. And I think at that point, if you still feel like it's a fit, if you feel like it's a fit, if they feel like it's a fit, then you generally go on a discovery day. That discovery day entails maybe going to the franchisor's headquarters, wherever they may be, talking to some of their executive staff. And then also, you should be meeting with current franchisees, if there are those out there, and really getting their understanding of how supportive the franchisor is. Do they feel like there's enough opportunity out there and their real life true experience? And certainly, if you can, meet with some people who have walked away from the franchise. Try to understand why. Try to understand why it didn't work out for them. And so there's those, small steps that you can take to move towards choosing the right franchise that you
That's
might want to go into, choosing that right business opportunity.
yeah, that's great advice, Cherie. Yeah, that's because um, it's a big investment, and for a lot, I mean, people will save up their whole lives, just to get into a franchise opportunity. So, and you can easily make a wrong decision, I think, with that too. But like if you don't do your research and don't do your due diligence, and you go on with something that's just because they're, and I hate to say it, it's just like any other industry, right? Like franchise industry, it could be there are people out there that are there to just rip people off,
Hmm.
and it happens all too often. So yeah, but that's great advice. I would never even think to even reach out to the people who walked away from it, and see what happened. That's great. Um, so from saying hey it's a go to like start to end, like what's a to get to a point where you can actually open up operations, like what's the timeline you're looking at for something like that?
Generally, I think it depends on the amount of build out, what area you in. For me, I believe from the time I said, okay, I think this, I want to pursue this, and you pay your franchise fee. Um, I believe it probably can be anywhere, maybe 9 months, maybe to somewhere about 18 months. Obviously, I think it's really highly dependent on the type of franchise, the area you go into, and what all you need to put in place in order to open doors on day one. I will say that at the time that I joined, it wasn't an option, but now for fully promoted, you can have an option of a what they call an office model. And so you don't have to have production in house. You don't have to have a showroom, or a place for customers to walk in. Sometimes they simply operate, and their focus is largely on just sales and marketing and not the production part of it. And they may contract out their production part of it. And so that is an option now, was not an option then. So if you choose to go that route, then I believe almost probably instantaneous, right? Your
Right.
your shingles are hung, and you can go into it. Obviously, let's say it's if it was a tax preparation franchise. And I think if you find a an office suite and get a nameplate, and maybe you got to have a maybe another accountant, maybe you don't when you start preparing taxes, and maybe it could be something as quick as that. For me, finding a place, because I did have or do have a physical location, that takes a bit of time. So obviously, generally with the franchise, you get a territory, so you are looking within a certain territory, geographic territory, to put a location. There's quite a bit of negotiation that goes on with a landlord if you are leasing a space, and so you would need to allow a couple of months for the landlord to go into those type of discussions. Then you would need to allow a couple of months for a build out, getting the space the way that you need the space to function, bringing on staff, training that staff. So it could be, depending on the extent of work that needs to happen, I would probably say anywhere from a couple of weeks to several months to really be ready to open the doors for a franchise.
That's awesome. And I like the fact that you touch on location too, because location is, depending on the business that you open, is very important. Because for something that like I we have customers that like want to go to a showroom, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't. Not everyone has a showroom, and our customers know that. Like we have a very small showroom, so to us, it was more important to keep overhead low and to
Mm-hmm.
we have a small showroom, but like it's very tiny. But we want to keep our overhead low, so we went into like a more industrial complex area for our office location to
Mm-hmm.
keep costs low, but
Mm-hmm.
have giant warehouse space. And for you deal with mostly small businesses and probably some bigger businesses, large businesses as well. So uh, I think you have like the perfect location. It's like right off 249. It's a really nice, has a paved parking lot. You know what I mean? It's a really nice
Yep.
spot
Yep.
for someone to walk into and talk to someone about what their needs are. But it's not anything like super extravagant, like a giant showroom either, because you don't need it. You know what I mean? It's not, you didn't like go
Right.
more than what you need. You stuck, and I think it's important. I think it's important for some people to know that, like, hey, you don't have to go all out on your location. At least not, depending on the business. If your business model is, hey, I need customers coming in like all the time, then yeah, then you need to pick a spot where it's easy to find, and
Right.
around other businesses that are people are going to be going to. They see your business. Oh, I'll walk in here and see what's going on. But if it's
Yeah.
if
No,
it's a
sorry. Yeah. No, I agree with you. We spent the first 5 years in a retail strip mall. And so when that lease was up, I decided that I wanted to get out of that retail strip mall, for a lot of reasons. And very near to where that was located, they were building these office condos that you could purchase. And so that's the direction that I went in. And the only concern I actually had, and you're familiar with the area, is the location. We're right off of 249. If you miss the two turns, you have to loop all the way back around.
yeah,
But that has not caused a problem at all. And I always tell people, if right, it's business dependent, but if your customers are seeking you, then they will absolutely find you. You
right.
can find anybody today
Yeah, yeah.
with
GPS everywhere.
Waze
Yeah,
or Google Maps or
yep,
GPS. You cannot hide. And
yep.
so that was a my only small concern, but it took no time to for that not to be a concern anymore. Was that you put it in your GPS and customers will find you. So it was really good for us to not be in that retail location for, or that retail location with the big movie theater with the big box stores. It really has been fine for us.
Oh yeah, and those places like they charge way more just because they know that that exposure is worth something. But the business like yours, I mean, your bread and butter, I'm sure, is small businesses, right? I mean, it's not
You're
consumers
right.
coming in.
Absolutely, and you're right. I would say that we've reduced our cost by half by moving out of that location. And when you hit the nail on the head, so our target customer are not customers. We love all our customers, but our target customer is not someone bringing in a baby blanket or a backpack or something for us to put a name on like that. Our target customer are small businesses who have ongoing needs for apparel and branded items to market their business, to identify their employees, and for safety reasons. And I will always say that if a customer walks in, 50% of them don't walk in again. We don't, they call, they email, they will, send us inquiries online. For subsequent orders, we do a lot of shipping. They may call us for an order and come pick up. So we've got customers who send Ubers for all of their items.
Yeah, it is crazy to me how Uber drivers now can deliver product and materials. I've seen that happen before. It's just and I think it's a service now that they actually
Yeah,
offer to people.
it is. It's super convenient, particularly when you think, I guess I'll have to say back in the old days when, it would cost, I don't know, $100 or something like that, or at least 50 to like hot shot something across town. And now, if someone's close to you, you can get the Uber driver to bring, and it's really reasonable. I think maybe, max, depending on where you are, 15, $20, and super convenient, direct to you. And I just think it's amazing time to be a small business owner, or just in the world today with all the innovation and the
Oh yeah.
ease of access. I was there's an author I was listening to this morning. You can self-publish yourself on Amazon, and you can get on all these social media platforms and be discovered. You don't have to have a record deal. And so it's really exciting time to be a creative person,
No,
and to own a brand in this time in the economy.
no, I couldn't agree more. And one thing I want to really one I work with you guys. We do all of our embroidery stuff with you guys because
Yeah.
you guys do incredible work, and
Thank
I
you.
yeah I really love what you guys
You're
produce.
wearing your jacket. You're
I'm
wearing your
wearing my
jacket.
I'm wearing my
That
jacket
we just
today. Yeah.
yeah.
I love it too. I got a lot of compliments on it too. By the way, I even had
Oh, thank you.
one of my friends was like, I may just order one for myself, even though I don't work for your company. I just like it.
Yeah,
So,
it's nice. It's nice.
thanks. And but I will say that one thing I really enjoy about your company, I got this jacket through you guys. I paid for you guys supplied the jacket and did the embroidery. But another really cool
Mhm.
service that you guys offer that a lot of places don't is you can bring your own shirts and everything to get them embroidered, which I thought
Right.
was cool because I'm a small company and we have a lot of people that work for us, but they're all wear different shirt sizes and everything else, and a lot of times they have like their
Mhm.
own style that they want to wear, so they just bring in shirts and I just drop them off to you guys and you guys take care of it, and it's really it's convenient. So I just want to say thanks for offering that service because it's pretty important and relative to what I do. Um, but another thing
Yeah.
too is okay.
I was just going to comment about that. A lot of embroiders don't like it, and so I'll speak from both perspectives. It is when we talk about, as you say, I ordered this jacket from you. We have an entire industry of apparel and bag and gift and cap manufacturers who manufacture items with us in mind. They make them generally the left chest. They make sure that they leave blank. There can be port pockets where we can get into and behind linings of a jacket so the embroidery doesn't show through the other end. If it's a bag, there are options for us to be able to embroider or print on that bag with ease. And again, there are manufacturers who manufacture and construct for our industry. So they're keeping those things in mind when when they make things for us. When you're strictly retail, they don't necessarily keep those things in mind. So there have been times before that a customer has gone out and purchased 120 lunch sacks because that's what they want to brand for their employees for the holidays or for employee gifts, and it's not something that we can even get on our machine. And so that is why many times other embroiderers and places just don't want to deal with. It's a little bit more of a headache, outside items, because we can't guarantee the construction. We can't guarantee that the retailer or the manufacturer made those things to be branded and for our industry. And are they going to hold the stitches? All of those things are taken into consideration when we get apparel from manufacturers that manufacture for us. And I will definitely say that many manufacturers are coming out with a lot of new things. For example, for women, you don't have to wear the same polo. They've got beautiful cardigans and beautiful twin sets, nice blouses, all of those things coordinated with other unisex and men wear, so that women don't just feel like you have to wear the polo. It doesn't have to be the boxy polo. They often tailor a little bit more and maybe shorten the sleeves for women wear. So there are a lot of options, a lot of and they're staying on top of trends if you do purchase apparel from us. And I guess I will end by saying that, and really for large groups, I will tell you that for uniforming purposes, I encourage that. And one reason why is that there will be customers who will bring us things from, they found these great jackets at, a big box store for the holidays, and they'll buy everybody one of these jackets, and they had to go to five of them to get them. And then they get one more employee that comes on board, and that big box store doesn't have any more of those jackets left. So now you're faced with what we do. And so what I will say is that there are some core pieces that we have been embroidering for companies for 8 years now. And so we know that all the employees are going to have the same jacket. You're not running back to a particular store hoping that they have that same blue or that same style. And so there's a lot of advantage to buying core pieces from us. But we do like to make our customers happy, and we do understand that there are just some things that you like, right? You like that style. You don't necessarily have access to everything, and we allow customers to bring those in. But we just one of our vendors just got a Brooks Brothers line, and so we have Under Armour and Nike
Oh
and
wow.
Carhartt and North Face, and so OGO, and so we've got a lot of retail brands that we get through our vendors, and so don't think that just because if you buy it from us, we have a lot of those brands, Patagonia, Travis Matthew, and so a lot of brands that we have access that will sell to us wholesale, and we can provide.
And to kind of piggyback off that, when the last time I was there, me and you were looking through the book and everything, and I was like, man, you have some really nice looking apparel, like stuff that you don't see in stores. And I guess that's what you're,
Right.
there's a lot of things in there. I'm like, wow, I would never like that. I can definitely, and you start seeing, and when you're looking at that book, you can see your logo on those things too. I guess what I do, I kind of
Yes.
envision how my logo is going to look on them, and it really, if nothing else, it makes you any small business too. If you guys don't have like stuff embroidered, or if you don't have your logo on things, just do it, because it makes you feel so much better about your brand and about your company, and it just gives you like a different higher feeling of your company. Like I don't know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love representing my company everywhere I go. I think it's the coolest thing. Um, but yeah, I mean that I'm with it, and that's kind of my goal the wrong one is to eventually just have like kind of like you're talking about uniforms. Certain styles for the females, certain styles for the males, and just have them. Everyone's kind of wearing the same style clothing. So that way, and when these people see us, like, oh yeah, that's an Easy Bath guy, you know what I mean, or an Easy Bath girl,
Yes, yes,
you know.
yep, absolutely.
I gotta get this one person that works for me. He's like, nope, I have to have this. I think it's a Dickies shirt or something like that. He's like, he's like, you open my
Yeah,
closet, that's
yeah,
all you see, just all these Dickies shirts. Like, all right.
yeah. We,
Uh,
we've got Dickies as a brand too, so
oh, is it really?
we'll
Oh,
have to
okay.
convert him. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
yeah.
convert him. We'll
That's
convert him. I'll
awesome.
send you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Send me that when this is over. It's awesome. So one thing that you guys do too is people can send a logo to you, and then you can convert that logo to be embroidered because it's not a PNG,
Yeah.
it's not an SVG or an EPS. Embroideries have their own type of files to them. And any word of advice for someone who's creating a logo to have it be more easier to work with for embroidery or for print.
Yeah, I always like and I always believe that the more simple and clean the lines that you have when you're creating your logo, the more beautiful it sews out. It's not heavy on the garment. We do get a lot of people who create beautiful logos, but they're harder to translate into embroidery if it, for example, has gradients of color or a lot of detail. I mean, that can really bog down a design. And so, having something that is simple and clean, like Easy Bath, right?
Like,
Like Easy Bath is it's going to embroider well. It's going to be easy to translate to screen printing and promotional products. And I can maybe because I picked up an eye for this. There are a lot of times when I drive by businesses and I see their channel signs, and I'm trying to say, what does that say, right? So I think when you're creating a logo, pick a font. Font does matter. Pick a font that it's going to be clean. Somebody can easily read it from your channel sign. Particularly now, you want to make sure that when you're creating a logo, how is that going to translate to all of my social media platforms? What is my Instagram button going to look like? What is my Facebook uh, page going to look like with that logo? How may do I need to modify it? How may I need to modify it? Um, and so something clean, something simple. And certainly I would tell if they're starting out and they're creating a logo, all big corporations and brands have brand standards and defined colors. And so you don't want people will come in and your colors, you have those colors. I say let's pick one that works on a neutral palette, and then let's pick one that works on something. Um, so for example, if you wanted to get a blue jacket, we might need to modify the E in your Easy Bath.
right.
So I say, let's pick something that works on a blue palette. How are we going to change that? Are we going to change it to black? Are we going to change it to white? Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want people saying, oh, I think I want to change it to pink. You don't want all these brand colors floating around there. You really want to have brand standards on how you print something on a black or a white or a colored palette, and have your employees and have your marketing people and really stick to that. So people begin to associate those colors with your brand. Those are things that I encourage people as they come in and they're just starting.
Yeah,
Create brand standards and stick to them.
great. No, it's great advice. I mean, because and rebrand because rebranding is such a hard. It's a to rebrand a company. It's a very difficult, strenuous
It is.
process, and so to have all those kinks ironed out first, it's extremely important. I would agree. We rebranded. We weren't always Easy Bath. We became Easy Bath in 2019, and prior to that, we were the Bath Kitchen Pros. So it's
Okay.
yeah, but it was just everything was wrong with it. The logo was wonky, and it was just we never did kitchens. we were only we only did bathrooms. Like, all right, we're kitchens
Hey,
every day.
let's drop this kitchen thing.
Yeah. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So, but
That's funny. But we didn't do kitchens.
yeah. People would even call us like, "You guys do kitchens?" Like, not really. Yeah. It's like, called Beth Kitchen Bros. Yeah, yeah, we know. But, you don't see him on our
Funny. It was a good
website, do you?
laugh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um,
But we're laughing, but you know what, I don't know where the kitchen part came from, but I mean that's actually a really, we're laughing, right? But that's a really good point because um you're not the, I mean, large, I worked for a lot of corporate companies that when I started working for, I believe, Dow Chemical, they actually, and maybe you have to be old to know this, they had Dow branded cleaning products, right?
oh, I did not know
And
that. Yeah.
so they did. And, because I guess, I don't know, maybe, having these big conglomerates with a lot of revenue streams, and you just kind of pick up and add on different businesses. And as businesses mature, right, we find out what we're good at. And I know one of the things that they often said, hey, if we're not number one or number two, we're going to get out of that, right? We're going to focus all of our efforts to what we know, what we're good at, because other things are distracting, right? They distract from your time, they distract from your profits, they distract from your, the focus of the employees, from your vision. So we're
Yep.
laughing, but I think I mean, that's a very valid point. There are going to be many times in the growth of your business, that and the maturity of your business, that you're going to pick up and you're going to let things go. And I actually think that's a sign of a maturity and actually good leadership, to say that we're going to let that go. We're not, I can't be everything to everybody, right? There
Yep.
are, and you have to do that as a small business owner. Your target market. I talked about my target customer earlier. We don't cater to customers who are not our target customer, because it is a distraction.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes for the consumers to understand that. But I think once you're in front of them and you and really kind of explain to
Yep.
them in detail why it's better to go with a specialist more than and someone who does it all, then they have a greater respect for that decision.
Yep.
So
I
that's
agree.
cool. That um and one thing too about what you guys do. And I was looking at some of your samples. You guys do like Matchbox cars, and you can do like all kinds of like really cool things for trade shows, and of course you do hats, jackets, shirts, all that. But there's even like more like cups. You can do cups. There's so many things you can put your name on. Um, that is pretty neat too. So like, what do you what's the most what are some things that you've seen come through that are weird or just like out of the norm, that you put your name on?
Oh wow, let me see. We have put it's kind of an endless possibility. I always tell people, anything that you could think of with your name, message, or logo on, we can brand for your business. So everything from socks to, our business just did shoes for ourselves, little slip-in boat type shoes, croc type shoes. There are a lot of food gifts. You can put mints out front. So there are, whatever your business is, right, there's a trade show. There's a large trade show in Vegas every year, and it literally takes a couple days to walk through this trade show, because there are thousands of companies there, and you find anything from food gifts to knives to chairs to all types of things you would need for athletics, rain parkas. So it's honestly, your imagination is the only thing that would probably limit, because we also have connections, and if it's a really, really, really large buy, many of our manufacturers and vendors are in Asia, and we've got direct connections to manufacturing facilities there. So if it's a large buy, we can completely brand something for you, and for your business. So
And
really, the your imagination is the extent of what we'd be able to do.
yeah, and it's crazy, and it's weird because like I go to trade shows. We do all the home shows in Houston. So every home show
Hmm.
we're involved in them, and I mean, I see some like bizarre stuff, like like an electric company, like an electrician giving away frisbees, and I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of I don't know how those two correlate with each other, but okay.
Right,
It's like
right, right.
so it's interesting to do you recommend that someone would if like I think a good thing for us to start doing, and I'll get with you on this, is squeegees. Like maybe because people can squeegee the glass door, and so that to me has like
Absolutely.
a purpose that has to do with my industry. You know what I mean? But do you think it's good for people to go away from their industry when they do stuff like that for trade shows, or should they stick to something that's relatable, or pens, or commodities that are pretty everyday uses, like pens or notebooks, or I think
Right.
sanitizers are pretty big right
Yeah.
now. Hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing a self promo for a sanitizer that clips to the visor in the car. And so every time you look up and grab the credit card, sized sanitizer and pop it back in, that you'll see our logo.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
those kind of yeah. So those kind of general purpose items are good. And so we do a lot of pens, a lot of tote bags, a lot of things that many people will. You're going to use. You're going to get a lot of views and a lot of touch points as people use them and maybe leave them in the restaurant as they sign their name. They'll leave a pen and they'll get a lot of life out of them. I tell customers when we pick an item, keep the audience in mind. And I think that you alluded to this. So I've got a friend who has a home health care business. And so one of the things I say, how about maybe let's maybe do the pill boxes, right? So maybe let's do the pill boxes with your logo on it. So people are always going to
That's
kind of
great.
keep that at hand. If you've got your older clientele, right? They're always going to keep that at hand. So when somebody goes, "Oh, well, what company do you use?" "Oh, I know, right? Because it's always on my pillbox."
That's great.
Or
That's
for
great.
that older clientele, maybe listen, and I need one of these too. Maybe a little magnifying thing that they can pull out of their wallet at the restaurant, and it's got a little light on it that helps them see. They're going to keep those things close at hand. They're not going to go in a drawer because those have a lot of utility. If it's a young crowd, maybe getting some uh, different types of connectors and charging pads. That's always going to be something that we're always looking for a plug. We're always looking for a charging cube at my house, and kind of trading them off. And so kind of keep in mind who your audience is to make sure that it's going to be something. So I think your squeegee idea is an excellent idea because people are going to keep that at hand, and they're going to associate that with you. So, if obviously they may not, they're not going to be carrying around that squeegee, but when somebody asks them, they're going to go, "Oh, I got that squeegee from them, so let me go get it." And their contact information will be on it. So again, a lot of items, like you're saying, are great because many people can use them, but do keep your audience in mind. Because I think frisbees are a great promotional item, but maybe for a daycare that's opening,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something like that, where you could take that to the park with the kids and have
Yeah.
that at hand.
Or like a dog, like if you're selling dog supplies or something, you know what I mean? Like that'd be.
Absolutely, a vet.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Think about little bowls that you can collapse and open up. If you're a veterinarian, something like that. Actually, they make even these little doggy treats. That if you're a groomer or if you're a walker or you're a vet, you can brand little doggy biscuits and hand those out to your customers. So there's a lot of industry specific items that we can really tailor. And hey, even if you want to do something that is a general item like a pen, there are pens with dog bones at the end of them. So there's a lot of things that we can create that make sure they tie in really succinctly with your customers and your business.
That's awesome. And I know I don't know how much more time you have, but I want to ask one more question for you before you go. Get your input on
Sure.
it. As far as marketing, I know we know you're from talking to your established customers, small business mostly. How do you target like a small business owner? Like, how do you guys do that? is it referral based or is it?
Yes.
Um,
We get a lot. We do get a lot of. We do get a lot of referrals, and that's a. I think it's a really big part of growing a new business is to make sure that you're doing work that people will want to refer to other businesses. We belong to a lot of networking groups. We've done some we find beneficial, and some I've found beneficial, and I've stayed with. Others not. We do some, networking events, uh, some social media. Our franchisor does some social media posts, so we're all over, social media, and that's really how we get customers. We get a lot of warm leads from the organizations that I network with. I'm a member, for example, of the NAMAC, which is National Association of Minority Contractors, right? Because we provide a service. I'm a member of the Houston Minority Supplier Development Council, and that's a council that an organization that connects minority businesses with corporate buyers. And so we
that's
get
awesome.
a lot of referrals from that as well. But a lot of just marketing to local businesses with a flyer or a drop by promo product or a phone call. So a lot of different avenues to bring customers to us.
That's really cool. I didn't know those I didn't know those were I never heard of those networking groups before, and I think it's really cool
Hmm.
that they exist. So because I know that that's a big thing right now, like for like minority owned businesses. It's like even Google has like a checkbox, like for that too, which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah.
So so it's is that like talk to me about that kind of is that a hard thing to get set up into, or is it like for you, was it did someone reach out to you to join the group, or did you have to do research to find them, or and was the signing? Because I know like some network groups, um, there's certain people they have like certain people in there already. If that position is filled, you can't join. There's
Right.
fees that are involved a
Yeah.
lot of times with these networking groups. Is it similar with that with those, or is it?
Right. Yeah. So these particular the ones that I did name, they do have small fees that you do pay, and generally the two groups that I named, NAMAC and HMSDC. I mean, obviously they're not profits, right? So the money that you pay helps to pay the staff, and it helps to kind of facilitate all the services that they do provide, and all the coordination that they do. I have belonged to I think you might be referring to BNI, which I believe is Business
Yeah,
Networking International. There are a lot of BNI groups across the country. I know a lot of people who have been successful with those BNIs. I actually had someone to call last week that was interested in joining one, and I gave him my perspective. I just think you have to make sure that you find the right networking group for you, and that if it's a referral based group like BNI, that the people that are in your group know the right kind of referrals and have access to the right kind of businesses that you're looking for. If you're in a group, and I know that my target customer, again, I'll go back to that, they're small and medium, even large size businesses. We do quite a bit of business with large organizations as well. That those are the kind of referrals that I am going to get from that group. Because what I will say, particularly as um, an entrepreneur, right, you have to wear so many hats.
yeah,
After I finish this, I've got to figure out when one of my machines is not acting right. So I got to go find the Allen wrenches and kind of take it apart. After I
yeah,
do this piece with you, and then I'm going to work on, invoicing and payroll later on. You've got to wear a lot of different
yeah.
hats. And so you really have to be careful about your time and where you're spending your time, because a lot of these networking groups take a lot of time. And so you have to say, where is the best use of my time? Where am I going to get the greatest return on my time? And really be open and honest with yourself and people who are trying to get you, into the group. She said, this is what I'm going to need if I'm going to spend, 8 hours a week connecting with people in this organization. That's the kind of return that you need to get for 8 hours of work. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And you really have to find the right networking group that gives you the type of return and sends you the type of customer. Because that's what it's all about, right? As a small business owner, it is about it's about profit.
Yeah.
We're not charitable organizations, right? We can be charitable,
Yeah.
but we're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
charitable organizations. So every decision that you make has got to be about is this a good return on my investment? Everything you do.
No, I mean, and that's great. And because I had belonged to the some BNI groups before, and I had no results from those places. But not to say
Hmm.
that someone can't or won't. It's just for some reason
Right.
the certain groups. So what you're saying is, I completely relate with. If you go there and you're not seeing what you want to see from it, it's drop it. Go find somewhere else where you can.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you found two groups that are awesome, and they're minority based too. So I would say, like, if you're if you're a minority looking to get into entrepreneurship, those sound like two amazing groups to join, because that that to me is a would be a good break into the business, because it's important to have a good network up front and people referring you, because the referral business is easy to close. I mean, not easy, but it's a lot
Yeah.
easier than
It's
a cold
warm,
call.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's I always say, I've got a lot of warm leads, right? It's not about, cold calling. Being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, if you're a minority, it's hard,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yeah,
it's hard. I've always heard, pick your hard, right? It's also hard if it's not your personality, if it's not your lot in life to work for somebody, to show up at 7 and stay to 5 every day and do that. That's hard too, right? That's hard if that's not for you. So you kind of have to pick your hard. But being an entrepreneur just by itself is a hard thing to do. So organizations that really focus, 'cause, I think as a woman and as a minority woman, as a Black woman, I have a unique set of needs and skills and challenges that these particular organizations address. And so they're important to me to be members of these. But there are also a lot of just women's groups that that offer a lot of support for women in business. And I've gone through the you got to try this if you haven't already. There is a have you ever the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program?
no,
I'll
I've
send
not.
this if
Yeah.
you haven't.
No, I haven't heard of that
I'll,
one. Yeah.
I'll I'll send this to you.
All right.
You might be able to benefit. I'll just quickly. So it's an older program. So I don't know when it started. You'll have to forgive me. But Goldman Sachs committed at one point to taking 10,000 small businesses through I think it's about 12, 15 weeks. It's a really rigorous program. You learn some about financial reporting and reading financial reports and getting financing and tying up your marketing and working on exit plans, which a lot of entrepreneurs, as we're starting out, we don't think about. But one day, you probably either want this to end, or you want to step away, or you do want to retire. So it takes you. It's a pretty rigorous program that you go through. There are cohorts all over the United States, and so I went to the one here in Houston. I was cohort 25. And that's a really open, very diverse group of business owners that you learn from too. So it's really about continuously educating yourself, connecting with other small business owners, because nobody knows what it's like to be a small business owner than another small business owner. And so sometimes, we're bouncing ideas
True.
off of each
Yeah.
other with, how do we, where are you looking for employees? How are you handling this? And so, yeah, finding those right slots that feed you and get you what you need to be successful again. Being a small business owner, being an entrepreneur is hard in itself. So we need support,
Right.
and there's some great organizations out there that can give you that.
That's awesome. No, yeah, please send me that info. I'll sign up. It sounds right up
Yep,
my alley, actually.
it is.
Yeah,
It is. It's an excellent program.
cool. Yeah, and and just to touch base on that too, with with the networks and what you're talking about with the it's, it's so hard to no one really unless you go through it yourself. It's really hard to understand what an entrepreneur actually goes through, and um like there are many hats that we have to wear and the decisions we have to make. So it is cool to have a network that you can go to where people can actually relate to that stuff and talk to you about
Yeah,
it, and just to have someone to talk to that kind of understands the place that you're in, and can relate to it and offer advice.
absolutely. Yeah.
So cool. But Cherie, I truly appreciate all the time you took to dedicate to this, and
Thank you so much.
yeah. And do you want to do a quick plug in real quick to how people can find you, how they can find your company?
Oh, absolutely. That would be great. So we are fully promoted. And so you can go to fullypromoted.com. We are the Houston Northwest location. You can very easily just email us at info@promotehouston.com. We are located off of 249 in the Willowbrook area, south of Willowbrook Mall, but north of the Beltway, right off the feeder. And again, 832-559-2113, 832-559-2113. And it's Cherie with a C, Wren with a W, WRENN. And so we'd love to help you create a uniform program, gift program, anything like that for your employees and your customers.
Awesome.
And thank you. I've absolutely enjoyed it.
No, I had a blast. You're awesome, and really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.